Malifaux is a dangerous game, and when one of our living crew members dies, we have to drop a corpse marker next to them. Now we could just simply drop a flat 30mm diameter disc, and from a purely gameplay perspective, that's probably the best way to go, but I think that's a little bit boring. I think one of the coolest things about Malifaux is its aesthetic though, and I really think our corpse markers should fit that. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I made this corpse marker, which I think has like that old-timey Wild West graveyard look to it. So the first thing is to get some coffee stirrer sticks, which are like paddle pop sticks, but thinner and narrower. You can find these on eBay or Amazon, or pick them up for free from your local coffee shop. First thing I did is cut off the rounded end of the stirrer stick. Then I marked a 3cm and a 2cm piece. Then I took my hobby cutters and cut off those two pieces. Then I took my file and I filed down the ends. Now the longer piece is going to be the upright of a cross, and the shorter piece is going to be the crossbar. So I just dry fitted them, made sure I sort of placed them where I want them to be. Then I used a little dab of super glue to glue them together. I used too much super glue for this cross and it squished out the sides a bit, so don't use this much. For the grave mound, I mixed together some Maliput. You could also use green stuff, but I like using Maliput better because it's not as sticky. I pushed this Maliput into a standard 30mm diameter Malifaux base and worked it with my fingers to form the grave mound. So I took my cross and I pushed it into one end of my grave mound, and I just worked the Maliput to make sure it held the cross properly and was at the right angle that I wanted it for. I had mine tilted back slightly. To make sure it was really held in there tightly, I just used a touch of super glue to hold the cross into the Maliput. Then I just let it all dry and cure overnight. To start tarting it up, I'm going to prime it all with my Vallejo black surface primer. Let's start with the grave mound. I covered it in Citadel's Sterling Mud texture paint and let that dry. Then I dry brushed it with Citadel's Xandri dust. Now for the grass tufts, I used Army Painter Highland tufts, and I put dabs of super glue onto the base and placed the tufts onto the super glue. Then I took some PVA glue and watered it down slightly and covered pretty much the entire base with that PVA glue. Then I took some generic basing gravel material and pretty much coated the entire base with that gravel. All right, the base is done, so let's head back to the cross. I base coated the cross with 2 thin layers of Army Painter's Castle Grey. Now I'm going to layer it up towards white. So the next layer is Army Painter's Matte White mixed with a tiny little bit of the Castle Grey. And I layered that on everywhere except where I wanted some shadows. So I left a little bit under the crossbar and on the back, just showing the base coat. And then I layered up again to pure matte white on the crossbar and the top section of the cross and along some of the edges as well. Now I freehanded the RIP using Citadel's Abaddon Black onto the crossbar. I started with the I, so I knew it would be right in the center, and then I did the P and the R next to it. I did make a couple of mistakes off camera, which I cleaned up with some matte white right back over the top of the black. Pretty much like whiteout. Here is the final corpse marker. I'm really happy with it. I think it looks great and really fits into the world of Malifaux. I'm Dave. I hope you liked this video. If you have, give it a thumbs up and comment down below what you thought. Cheers.